All right, this just in. This is quite a Friday afternoon twist. This is certainly going to pour some more fuel on the fire. Maxx Crosby posted this, verifying that he is now part of the Leeds United Football Club ownership group. Well, guess who owns the majority of Leeds United? 49ers Enterprises. That is the soccer club in the UK that the 49ers have purchased over the course of the past several years. In 2023, they finished the purchase of the final 56% of Leeds to become full owners. And now they are opening things up to investors. And one of the investors officially is now Maxx Crosby himself, as verified by his social media pages. So, yes, one can say that Maxx Crosby and the 49ers now co-own Leeds United. Obviously, the larger context of this is that Maxx Crosby doesn't seem to be happy with Las Vegas. He has very publicly expressed his displeasure there. Doesn't seem like he's formally requested a trade yet, but a trade is possible because we've been hearing these reports of the Raiders setting a certain price for Maxx Crosby's services. 2 first-round picks and a star player. I think that price is a little rich considering the fact that statistically he primed around 2021, 2022, but he's still one of the best defensive players in all of football, and he seems to be dropping hints that he wouldn't mind heading back to the Bay Area where his career began with the Oakland Raiders in 2018. The head of Leeds United is somebody whom you might recognize if you follow the 49ers. And I think that this could help you connect all the dots in this situation. This is the head of Leeds United. It is Parag Marathe, who, of course, is one of the 49ers' primary decision makers. So now Maxx Crosby has invested a little bit of money in Leeds United. Now, the 49ers are doing the same thing ownership-wise on their end. They're opening this up to investors who want to own a certain stake of the team, and then they can see their stake increase in value over the years. I'm sure it doesn't cost as much to buy a part of Leeds United or to invest in Leeds United as it does the 49ers. But, I did a big thing on Leeds when we visited the UK a couple summers ago, and they gave us a nice tour of the stadium there. And we were able to meet some of the people there, and I learned a lot about the club's history. And it's a sleeping giant of sorts. It's a good investment because, this is a team that has a worldwide fan base, but was one of the top teams in Europe during their heyday. And this was mainly in the 1970s, but they had some good teams after that as well. And because of that heyday, they do have a very large, committed, and loyal following. And the 49ers identified that when buying Leeds over the course of the past few years, increasing their investment all the way up until 100%. And they identified that if you can awaken the sleeping giant, then you've got a great investment on your hands. And I think that Maxx Crosby, in deciding to become part of that party, sound financial decision for Maxx. Sound financial decision for Maxx, and who knows? Maybe there's a bit more at play here. Maybe this is yet another sign from Maxx Crosby that he would like to be traded to the 49ers. Now, the 49ers, it is not all up to them. I'm sure they would love to have Maxx Crosby on their football team. But the Raiders would have to want to trade him, and they would have to be okay with trading him to the 49ers. I'll constantly bring up the Khalil Mack situation in 2018. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been more aggressive than anyone when it comes to acquiring premier talent ever since they took over in 2017. Christian McCaffrey comes to mind. Trent Williams comes to mind. We can go down the list of all the big contracts the 49ers have given out. But they also tried to trade with the Raiders back when they were in Oakland for Khalil Mack in 2018, and they offered more than even the Chicago Bears, who ended up trading for Khalil Mack. So the Raiders have to be willing participants in this. And the 2018 example, they refused to trade with the 49ers. Even though the Bears offered less, they traded Mack to Chicago. But that's where Tom Brady comes in. That's where the evolution of time comes in. You know, perhaps Mark Davis has realized that if he's too in control of things, that this Raiders team will never get out of the cellar. And the last time that we heard Mark Davis speak about this, just about a week ago, he made it clear, at least through his words, that the football side of the operation would be run by Brady, by Will Spytek, and obviously new coach Clint Kubiak. Davis made it sound like he was not going to interject into the situation. And I think that would help the Raiders a lot, and it would also make it much more likely that the Raiders would be willing to trade with the 49ers for somebody like Maxx Crosby this offseason. So stay tuned, because the fact that Crosby and the 49ers are now co-owners of Leeds United is just really a wild coincidence on this Friday afternoon. This is supposed to be the dead week for NFL news, but instead we just get more fuel to the fire, another log to toss onto the fireplace after Maxx Crosby posted a video of him rapping a little bit earlier this week, talking about buying a new house in the Bay Area, and also shouted out to a couple of iconic Bay Area athletes in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Now, remember that Maxx was drafted into the Bay Area by the Raiders when they were in Oakland back in 2018. So you can easily explain away the house in the Bay Area, the rap lyrics talking about that, the shout outs to Steph and Klay. Sure, you can explain that away. You could also say, you know, maybe he got to know some business people in the Bay Area back in his time before the Raiders moved to Las Vegas. And maybe that led to him and an introduction to Parag Marathe and 49ers Enterprises from a strictly business standpoint. And he just wanted to make a good investment in Leeds United. Sure, you could say that all of this stuff is just happening in a vacuum, all on its own, unrelated to whatever might happen on the football field, whatever might happen in the NFL. But it is all happening, and it's all coming out in very close succession, right on the heels of us knowing that Maxx Crosby has been very, very upset about how things are going in Las Vegas. And, you know, the best part of this is you could scroll down and you could see Maxx Crosby's caption here. Can you guys see it down there? Let me make this bigger up on the screen. So you could look to the very bottom of the screen. Read that. Winners recognize winners. Proud to invest with Leeds United. All in on the culture. Now, I don't know if Crosby has said this out loud, but I could really combine my own personal experience regarding the Raiders. And I've covered some Raiders practices. I've been in their locker room all the way back to Maxx Crosby's rookie year in 2018. That was back when they were still in Alameda at the training facility by the Oakland airport. I've always thought that the Raiders culture just has never been conducive to organization. Like I've never felt that walking into their building that this place is running a tight ship. That, I mean, it's a pirate ship. It's the Raiders, right? But I've never really gotten the sense that these guys were built and laser focused and precision oriented on their way to some kind of championship. It's always kind of been this messy Raider way. We've got a water coming in. Thank you. I appreciate it, because I had to take another coughing break. So, but it's, thank you. I appreciate it. But it's always been this chaotic, messy Raider way. I mean, they prided themselves on that, but they haven't really prided themselves on the losing record that we've seen in the majority of seasons, especially when Maxx Crosby has been with the football team. And it seems to me this is a guy that is just wired to maximize, right? I mean, he's at every single practice on the field first. Seems that he always leaves last. He's always working on extra pass rushing moves. Always seems to be tweaking something because he's always trying to maximize his game. And there's a reason why over the years, Maxx Crosby vaulted to the very top of a lot of these edge rusher lists. I mean, he's there with those elite names, right? And it's because of this relentless, precise, organized drive. And at a certain point, I mean, Maxx Crosby's coming up on a decade in the NFL. It's only going to be a couple more seasons before he reaches that milestone. At a certain point, that intense attention to detail and pursuit of greatness that Maxx Crosby has shown is going to be incompatible with the continuously losing ways of the Raiders. Like, bottom line. Now, maybe Clint Kubiak can convince him that, no, we're actually getting this turned around this time. But I've always told the story of walking into the Raiders facility last off season before the joint practice against the 49ers and thinking, okay, things are going to be different this time around because Pete Carroll's the head coach. He's going to be the guy that's going to be able to get the Raiders on the right track. It's going to feel different in the building now. I walked in and it felt exactly the same as years before. So it's going to take a lot for Clint Kubiak, for Tom Brady, who's now a part owner of the Raiders, to override this losing culture that's been there that I think is extremely, extremely frustrating for Maxx Crosby. I think that's why there has been this rift created between Crosby and the Raiders. And even when they re-signed him not that long ago, right? I think it was last offseason where he got a new contract. It seemed that they built it with an out. And maybe the out was there because they didn't have the money to give him a big signing bonus. It was only a $10 million signing bonus on a mega deal worth about $30 million annually. You never see it that small, but it's given the Raiders the opportunity to ship Maxx Crosby away as soon as this offseason. So there's obviously a lot in question. There's obviously a need from the 49ers end for an edge rusher. And now we've got both the rap song and we have this investment in a soccer team that the 49ers happen to own from Maxx Crosby, with what I was just talking about, the note at the bottom. All in on the culture. Well, if he doesn't like the Raiders culture, he's literally commenting on the culture of a 49ers owned team right now, which is, I mean, we never seen anything like this. This is crazy because NFL teams are just now starting to branch out and invest in professional sports enterprises across the entire world. So it hadn't been something in NFL history to watch. Oh, are players going to start investing in some of these teams that other NFL teams own? Well, Maxx Crosby can potentially begin that trend, and we'll see if it's tied to anything greater. But ultimately, decision comes from the Raiders' side here. The Raiders would have to trade Maxx Crosby, and they'd have to be willing to trade him with the 49ers. Mike says, I wonder if Mark Davis was pissed at the 49ers for hiring Greg Papa. Well, they didn't hire Papa until 2019, right? And yeah, Mark Davis decided not to trade Khalil Mack to the 49ers in 2018. That was prior to Papa joining the 49ers. And Greg obviously had been with the Raiders for a long time before that. I think this goes back to Mike Shanahan. I think that if you go back to Mark Davis and Al Davis and a dislike of the 49ers, probably even before that, because both of those teams shared time in the Bay Area. But Mike Shanahan coached for the Oakland Raiders and did not leave the Raiders on good terms. And, that's something that got personal between him and Al Davis, and then by extension, Mark Davis. And I think that Mark Davis when he was still, and he still might be, but let's treat it like the past tense just for argument's sake. When he was still really, really involved in the football side of things, he would carry grudges for his dad, who passed away, and I think 2010 or 2011. It's been a long time since Al Davis passed away. So there never has been 100% rational reason for a lot of the decisions that the Raiders have made, especially when Mark Davis has been involved, because I do think there's a lot of personal stuff, a lot of personal vendettas from the past, and you got to look at some of these connections as to why they don't trade with certain teams or why they do certain things. And it's part of the reason I think that the Raiders have struggled, and maybe it's something that they're trying to get away from by this move to Tom Brady, by Mark Davis saying that he's going to be a little bit more hands-off in the football decision-making process. Anyway, I have this for you on this Friday afternoon. I also have a 49ers rookie report card for you on this Friday afternoon. We're going to go through every single 49ers rookie this past 2025 season, and we're going to, I think, correct some perceptions here on the show today, because this is that time of the year that's a vacuum in terms of football content. The NFL Combine is starting next week. The Super Bowl was 2 weeks ago. A lot of people go on vacation from around the NFL these 2 weeks, so there typically isn't a whole lot of news. And so then you start to see a lot of these crazy takes come out to fill the time. The worst one was yesterday, was somebody was saying that the 49ers 2025 draft class was an abject failure because Mykel Williams didn't have enough sacks. And, immediately I just toss my hands up in the air and I say, I can't believe I'm dealing with this crap right now. I mean, this is the time of the year where the stat counters, like the people who only like and can only compute the simple statistics, they can't watch tape. They don't understand advanced stats. They don't know how to contextualize anything. This is the time of the year where I feel that the people with those takes shine the most. And it just got me fired up to actually give proper analysis to this 49ers 2025 draft class, which obviously didn't have a perfect beginning to its NFL career, but there was a lot of good and a lot to build on. And I think that the draft class essentially matched the expectations that the 49ers had of it in 2025. The thing with Mykel Williams is that obviously he tore his ACL. We're going to listen to Mykel Williams here in his end of season press conference. Mike sent me the clip. This is from the 49ers. We can listen to just a couple minutes of it to set the table. But as you listen to him speak, remember that they drafted him to be a run defender, to fix the biggest issue from 2024, which was run defense. This was a huge theme. And anybody who's evaluating the 49ers 2025 draft class, if they don't acknowledge that the underlying theme of that draft, especially when they're picking the defensive linemen in the first 4 rounds, anybody who doesn't acknowledge that the main goal there was for the 49ers to quickly solve their run defense, well, they probably will not understand the 2025 draft class in the big picture. Anyway, let's hear from Mykel Williams.
How's rehab going so far?
And I feel great. I'm in a good spot with rehab. On my feet again. Feel good to be back walking and moving around. Emotionally, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's been hard. It was hard. Dealing with something like this, of this significance. Probably the biggest injury I ever had. And then just the timetable that it takes. Then like missing all the important games that I'm missing. And just the events that I'm missing with the guys out there. It would have been nice to be a part of it.
Like how were you able to kind of just process the games that you did play? And what did you learn from it? What do you take into next year for you?
Basically, I process kind of like how I've been processing in the past, like just breaking down the film and taking out my good things from it and putting it to the side, and taking out my bad things from it, and putting it up front and focusing on the bad things to try to eliminate those.
What did you see? What are the things you want to work on?
Like pad level. Like it's like little technique things like pad level, sometimes hand placement, sometimes my steps too wide or I'm not on my line, like things like that.
So that's Mykel Williams talking about pad level, talking about what he wants to improve when he comes back from the ACL tear. There's a good chance that he's going to be ready for week 1. I don't think that that's been finalized or determined yet, but the 49ers certainly want him back sooner rather than later. If you look here, this is what the stat counters do not realize regarding Mykel Williams. When he was available, so that's before he tore his ACL at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants, the 49ers run defense ranked number 6 in expected points added in the entire league. Weeks 1 to 9, number 6. After Mykel Williams got hurt, they dropped to number 26. They dropped a full 20 spots without Mykel Williams. 6 to 26 in run defense. There are only 32 teams. So remember, the goal for the 49ers, they were the number 29 run defense in football entering last season, coming out of 2024. The goal of last season's draft was to solve the run defense issue. That was priority number 1 for San Francisco. So they went Mykel Williams. They got results. I mean, these splits, they essentially account for Nick Bosa and Fred Warner also being out. The one big hinge point was the Mykel Williams injury. Then they went and they got CJ West and Alfred Collins, not in that order. Collins first in the second round, CJ West in the 4th. Both of those guys blossomed over the course of last season. I mean, Collins was involved in one of the biggest moments of the year, run defense, punching out the ball from Kyren Williams against the Rams back in week 5. But his snap count grew as the year went on, and that was good for the 49ers. And he's a massive body. And I think that, I mean, he even started to bat down a couple passes toward the end, which is something that he did very well at Texas. I think the future is bright for him. But CJ West, 7 of his 11 pressures came from mid-December onward. So he really started to show juice as a pass rusher, even though this is a guy that came out of Indiana as a bona fide ultimate run stopper. I mean, he helped transform that team's defense. And you know how good a football Indiana has played the past couple of years. We just saw them win the national championship. All 3 of the rookie defensive linemen whom the 49ers picked in the 2025 draft, I mean, arrows up for all of them coming out of that season. The ACL tear for Mykel Williams, obviously unfortunate, but he'll recover from that. He's still very young, played last year at age 21. He's going to be a player. And the impact was profound, as you can see here in his rookie season. So, you know, there's so much hand-wringing about counting stats, especially from these casuals who are trying to grade draft classes on February 19th. And if that's how you're going to look at the game, you are going to be disappointed by Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, and CJ West before the season even started. Like, if you all you cared about were sacks, and you didn't care about the impact on run defense, which is more important than sacks, because if you can't defend the run, you'll never even have a chance to rush the quarterback. If you were only worried about sacks and something stupid like raw tackle numbers, even though those out of context give you absolutely nothing, you weren't going to be happy with the 49ers D-line picks, because they drafted these guys to clog up blockers, to take on the run game, and to improve the team as a whole against the run, so they could set the table, so they could build the foundation for whatever was happening in the future. So the number 6 to number 26 split for the 49ers run defense with and without Mykel Williams is the one that I think is the most relevant number surrounding Mykel Williams coming out of the 2025 49ers season. You move forward, and I know we're going through this entire draft class right now. The other pick amongst the top 4 for the 49ers. So they went Mykel, Alfred Collins, From Alfred Collins, they went to Nick Martin, the linebacker in the 3rd round, Upton Stout, and then CJ West. So out of the first 5 picks, we saw 3 defensive linemen and 2 back 7 guys. All of them were defensive players. Out of that group of 5, only one, I would say, disappointed this year. And that was Nick Martin, the linebacker, who finished the season on the concussion protocol. But even Nick Martin, this is something that I guess there's no patience now in modern society. But Nick Martin played only 4 games his senior season at Oklahoma State. It was cut short because of an injury. He was not expected to be somebody who burst onto the scene in 2025 and just grabbed a job. That I don't think was ever a realistic proposition for Nick Martin. I think that everybody saw in preseason how raw he was. He actually worked his way to a strong side linebacker spot before he suffered the concussion against the Cleveland Browns. And then, of course, we never saw him again. The jury is still very, very much out on Nick Martin. And he's got the size and the speed to be a very exciting prospect for the 49ers at linebacker. We'll see how he meshes with Raheem Morris. We'll see if they continue to emphasize linebacker play as much as they have schematically in the past, or if this is going to shift more toward the safety position. But, I just, again, I see so many of these great articles and these tweets and everything. You don't know what Nick Martin's going to be. It's like way too early to say that. And if I have to be the person that adds the context to it, fine, I'll do it. If I have to be the only one to say that this guy only played 4 games his senior season, that he was going to need a long acclimatization curve to the NFL, just obviously, because that's how the league works. If I'm the only one to say it, fine, I'll say it. I don't know why I'm the only one saying these things, because they seem to be common sense. But I guess that the nuance just isn't really popular with people who are going out and chasing all those clicks. That being said, Nick Martin was a 3rd round pick for the 49ers. Upton Stout was also a 3rd round pick for the 49ers. He didn't get hurt. He had a chance to play the vast majority of the season. And Upton Stout led all NFL cornerbacks with 10 pressures in 2025. Remember the first game that he played in Seattle, week 1? It's raw as hell. And the Seahawks were picking on him. It was typical rookie learning curve kind of stuff. And there was a holding penalty that he committed against Cooper Kupp in the end zone. 49ers, they might have won that game by significantly more had the Seahawks not been able to draw that holding penalty on 4th down in the red zone at the goal line against Upton Stout. But what I'll say is that it was not a penalty that he was committing later in the year. From point A to point B, week 1 to week 18, or we could even say the divisional round of the playoffs back in Seattle, Upton Stout grew a whole heck of a lot. I thought that he was the 49ers' best defensive player by the end of the season as a 3rd round pick. So that's a good pick for the 49ers. That's somebody who I think they're going to be able to rely on at a very important position moving forward, because Raheem Morris is going to blitz a lot more at least than Robert Saleh. We saw the Falcons at number 2 with Morris and Jeff Ulbrich, their defensive coordinator, number 2 blitz rate in all football, behind only Brian Flores, and he always blitzes the most from Minnesota. So the 49ers, I think, as they become more DB-centric, they're going to become reliant on defensive backs to bring pressure. I think you have to evolve as a defense. Upton Stout is going to become a chess piece for Raheem Morris in that regard. And I can't emphasize how important that is, because adaptability on the back end is the way of the league. It's the way that the league has to go now that offenses have become so adaptable with their own pieces. The 49ers should know that better than anyone. Here's a look at the draft class. We've already gone through a few of the names. Mykel, obviously, good trajectory. He's got to come back from the ACL tear now. Collins, yes, thumbs up on that season. CJ West, thumbs up on that season. Nick Martin is a big TBD given the concussion protocol. That was a worry since he was in it for several weeks to close the 2025 season. But I do think that the 49ers still have high hopes for Nick Martin. And Upton Stout, what a slam dunk of a third-round pick to begin things. So the top half of this draft, the 49ers had to leave 2025 feeling overwhelmingly good about the top half of this draft. It's the bottom half of the draft where, you have the heavy weight of the to be determines. And I think that this is a massive opportunity coming up for Jordan Watkins, given all the uncertainty in the 49ers receiver room. I know that he got a couple catches in this past year, but and Jordan had a good training camp too. We never expected him to be a world beater his rookie season. I think some fans hoped once the 49ers started getting all those injuries that they would see a little bit more of him. But the truth of the matter is that rookie receivers under Kyle Shanahan, unless they've been these, ultra talented first round picks, have generally not delivered in that initial season, especially after this team has loaded up. It's not 2017 or 2018 anymore. So this is the big year for Watkins. Can he take that next surge? By extension, it's a big year for Jacob Cowing, who was picked the year before, but missed most of last season with the hamstring injury. So we'll see how those two guys do, but there will be opportunity at wide receiver. We did see Jordan James, the running back, at the very end for the 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks once they were shutting things down in the blowout. Now, Jordan James, he was a versatile guy at Oregon. I just finished an article for the San Francisco Standard talking about Christian McCaffrey. He's got only 2 more years under contract. Brian Robinson did not give the 49ers what they needed to as far as receiving capability out of the backfield. The numbers were actually staggering. McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson were the 2 best backs in the league this past year when it came to yards per route run. So how trusted, how integrated, how capable are running backs in the passing game? McCaffrey was at like 1.81 yards per route run. Brian Robinson Jr. was at like 0.36. He was the 3rd worst running back in the league when it came to yards per route run in the pass game. In fact, there are only 2 worse than him, and one of them was Jordan Mason. Mason was at the very bottom. The 49ers traded Jordan Mason because he wasn't a reliable enough threat in the receiving game. They probably won't re-sign Brian Robinson Jr. because I don't think that he delivered what they needed to in the receiving game. What they need is a back who can augment Christian McCaffrey effectively enough to where you can take Christian McCaffrey off the field and feel that you're not going to fall off a cliff as far as passing options go, especially since all of your perimeter guys were hurt in 2025. The 49ers didn't have that luxury when McCaffrey came off the field in 2025, so that's why he had 413 touches, which was the most in his career. Can Jordan James, the running back out of Oregon, who actually is from this area, from this Nashville area where I'm doing this live right now, but can Jordan James emerge into that guy? I don't know if the 49ers have time to really wait around. I know that, people will talk about Isaac Guerendo too, but he's had his ball security issues. Is this the offseason that the 49ers push a lot of money into the offense, including backup running back, where somebody like Kenneth Gainwell, who's a good receiver, is available? Is this the offseason that the 49ers do that to finally get some veteran reliability next to Christian McCaffrey? Or will Jordan James take advantage of his opportunity here in year 2, the 5th round pick out of Oregon? Marquise Siegel started for the 49ers for a chunk of the season, then was benched, then actually returned to the starting lineup. The issue with Marquise, I think he's a good football player as far as speed, instincts, hitting. Against the run, it was all like arrow up for Marquise Siegel. He was able to use his tremendous athleticism to make some plays in the open field, but he is just not, at least at this point of his young career, not playing the ball in the air well. And that's a skill that can come, and I don't think the 49ers have given up by any stretch on Marquise Siegel, But the reason that he's a TBD player right now is if you're a safety, you've got to be able to play the ball in this league. And he doesn't have linebacker size, even though linebackers have downsized. Marquise Siegel is somebody who's going to have to give the 49ers some better pass defense than what they saw in 2025. Curtis Rourke, that's obviously TBD. He was on the NFI list for the entire season, coming off the torn ACL at Indiana. If they trade Mac Jones, it might be Rourke competing for QB2. Now, they've said they don't want to trade Mac Jones. I understand that because Mac was so good and you want to be as robust as possible in the quarterback room, but Rourke would have an opportunity for the 49ers. And then Connor Colby started a few games. Obviously wasn't good, but as Mike tells me in our text message thread, I think this is a great point. Connor Colby will have this offseason to rebuild his body. Remember that George Kittle called him out for not knowing how to maintain his body. That was actually, something that happened. It might have been after a game this past season. Kittle showing his fellow Iowa guy some tough love. And I think that, you have to give offensive linemen more than a year, especially given the new strength and size that they have to deal with in the NFL. Junior Bergen rounded out the draft class. He was on the practice squad as the returner. We'll see if he gets an opportunity to return some kicks in an actual game in 2026. Don't forget about the undrafted free agents. Sebastian Valdez being the one that I really want to talk about. Sebastian Valdez didn't play yet, but he was a UDFA, so you don't expect those guys to play right away. Stayed on the practice squad all year, earned 3 call-ups to the 49ers game day 55-man list, but they didn't activate him for those. They called him up but didn't activate him. They weren't planning to play him. What they wanted to do is give him more money, the maximum 3 times, to reward what they thought was really good performance in practice and probably to maybe convince Sebastian Valdez not to sign with another team that might try to poach him, which is a great sign that the 49ers really like Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk, to be a defensive tackle in the rotation for them in the future. And if they like them enough his rookie year to give him those 3 bonuses, then maybe we will see Sebastian Valdez make that 53-man roster, or at least be in better position as training camp begins in this 2026 season. All right, that's a full look at the 49ers rookie report card. Those of you who just joined, we began this show with an interesting nugget. Maxx Crosby now co-owns Leeds United with the 49ers. If you want to see the Instagram post, I got to get that right back. Oh, I just lost it, actually. I'm not going to get it up on the screen right now. I actually X'd out of it. That was my fault. But go check out Maxx Crosby's Instagram. The 49ers own Leeds United. In fact, by 2023, 100% of Leeds United was in the 49ers' possession. That's Parag Marathe, chairman of Leeds, also big figure in the 49ers front office. Well, now they've opened up Leeds to outside investors, and one of those outside investors is Maxx Crosby himself, somebody whom the 49ers would be very, very interested in for this 2026 season and beyond. So the intrigue only grows. It's always like this. 49ers find a way to keep their name in the news cycle throughout the entire offseason. Thanks to Joan for becoming a member. Awesome. And then we've got a guy, we have a super chat saying that he's saying hate from Texas, not love from Texas, hate from Texas. But he did send money along with it. So good for you. Thanks, man. Normally people who are belligerent, and while they send money, normally they at least want to ask a question or something, but I appreciate it. It's all good. Looking through for any extra questions here before we call it an evening. let everybody get along with their Sunday night. This guy wants to say, I hope you unblocked that guy from yesterday's video. He didn't do anything at all. That was incredibly soft by David. No, we didn't unblock him. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to block and ban you right now. Here, let's ban user and delete their comments. Cool. Yeah, that guy yesterday was trying to give me a hard time for coughing on my video. So yeah, he did something. So yeah, he got banned from the chat section. Now we ban the person for complaining about it. I love how the comment section actually just goes crazy every single time I do that. We get like 20 comments of the laughing emoji face. Yeah, it's probably a Cowboys fan. All right. You guys aren't asking any questions. You guys are probably already in weekend mode. But we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks for watching. Let's see if Mike has anything else for us. Nah, I don't. Mike's like, do you have any thoughts on Brandon Ayuk? Not really. I know some streamers said that Brandon Ayuk wanted $100,000 to join his stream. So either he's desperate for money or the streamer is just making it up. Or I don't know. No other thoughts on that. But we'll talk to you guys soon.